So recently I was invited out to 2K headquarters in San Francisco to play Borderlands 4 early. Within that time period, I was able to play a lot of the early game stuff and also, as you're going to see on the screen, some of the end game stuff. This end game activity is going to be the vault. Essentially, we are going to go around Kairos, find vault pieces, and certain ones are going to go together. We're going to take it to a spot, and it's going to open up a vault for us to then go in and fight a specific enemy. This isn't even like the top end game thing that we're essentially going to have in Borderlands 4. This is essentially going to be kind of like the Proving Grounds and the Takedowns had a baby, and it is absolutely amazing. Now, quick thing, I do have to emphasize that 2K did fly me out to play this. They provided me a hotel room, food, all that stuff, so big thanks to them for that. But this video is specifically, it's not a ad for them or anything like that. This is just me talking about the in-game content that I did play. We're gonna go over the goods, the bads, the uglies, all that stuff. But before I get into it, you can follow me over on YouTube and Twitter at Byrdman778. Give a thumbs up on this video. Let me know something you're interested in seeing down below, whether it is skill trees, characters, endgame stuff, all the stuff that you have questions on for Borderlands 4. Since I played it early, I'm absolutely going to do my best to answer every single question in the YouTube comment section. So please ask me anything that you want about what I got to play for Borderlands 4. Subscribe and become a member as well. And do know, I'm actually going to start streaming here soon. I'm getting some stuff together to do that, but I will be returning to streaming in the near future because obviously Borderlands 4 is going to be the best thing since sliced bread, so I definitely want to get into that. Speaking of getting into it, let's start talking about the endgame vaults. So the vaults essentially are going to be, like I said before, a combination of kind of the takedowns we had in Borderlands 3, as well as the Proving Grounds. Now, the Proving Grounds were initially kind of launched as this, end game activity, but soon people kind of found out that, you know what, it's really not that hard. It's like a couple like little mobbing sections that lead into like one boss that, the boss is just like a regular enemy and it's just like kind of a juiced up version. And it's like, not that great. They eventually kind of upped it with like the true trials and stuff. The bosses became a lot harder. I mean, they were raid level bosses, but at the same time, they were just like, it still wasn't the end game activity people were really wanting. I truly think Gearbox learned from this and eventually came up with this idea of the vaults instead, essentially encompassing a little bit of that, mobbing sections going through to an eventual boss at the end. In the gameplay here, you're going to see me starting in some of those beginning mobbing sections, essentially just taking out enemies. Now, these enemies were actually a lot stronger than I thought they were going to be. I kind of expected once I went through like one time, I was like, this is going to be kind of like Proving Grounds. It's going to be a bunch of regular enemies. I'm just going to, shoot them, kill them, do whatever. It'll be completely fine. But it was challenging. I mean, these enemies were juiced up. I mean, they were really pretty strong. A lot of these enemies reminded me of the Order enemies from when I was playing the early level stuff, but instead they had this different like nameplate of Sensical on it, which I can't tell if this is something that is like, a spoiler for the story, like something changes or something like that, or if this is just a specific enemy type that's only in these vaults. But I will again say they were a lot stronger than I expected them to be. Now, do note I was only running this on a level 22 build. It's not super min-max with gear or anything like that, but again, I played plenty of games where at this point, with like the decent gear and everything, I should be fine. And you know what? I was fine, but definitely took some time to kind of push through a lot of these enemies. Once I got to like the last section before the boss itself, there was even an enemy that I had to do specific mechanics to even take down its like overshield health bar. It looked as though it was kind of like iridium focused, so I wonder if that's something with like the story or something like that. Like, some enemies are being juiced up by the iridium that's falling from Elpis and creating these, kind of like the Abomination style enemies that we had in Borderlands 3. But same time, again, just did some simple mechanics and was able to take them out. Now, once I went through those 3 sections, I was launched over to kind of a waiting area before I went and hit the actual boss itself. On there was 2 vending machines, an ammo drop, and then also a med machine. I want to emphasize for that med machine, it is Dr. Zed. Dr. Zed is talking. He is he is the guy behind the vending machine. So I'm wondering if we're going to be getting, a little bit of Dr. Zed back in Borderlands 4. But once I launched into the arena itself, I was put up against the Primordial Guardian in Septus. Now, I don't think these Primordial Guardians are considered like vault monsters, the same as we have like Rampager, Grave Ward, stuff like that, but they are definitely on the level of strength of those guys. This guy reminded me of essentially the Wonderlands secret bosses with the movements they had, how the arena was set up, specific attacks you had to do, ways you had to kill them. It was honestly so freaking amazing. I can't emphasize this enough that just off the first glance, I went, oh my god, they learned from Wonderlands, they learned from the secret bosses, they are now implementing that into Borderlands 4. Oh my gosh, hallelujah. They did the thing. And this guy was pretty dang strong. I definitely had to get used to like his movements and everything. I think I didn't even beat him on my first try. I think I got killed by that point. But eventually when I went back into the arena, I was able to fight him again and figure out those mechanics and take him down. But I mean, it took a second and it was pretty dang hard, but it was so much fun. I had different mechanics where I had to use like my whip to pull these like little sacks off his shoulder and back to, you know, expose his crit spot. Once I did that, I was able to do a little bit more damage. They didn't have specific immune phases for this boss, but he does have a spot where he essentially puts himself on the ceiling, cocoons himself up to essentially heal. And then within that time, I had to shoot the sacks on top of his cocoon to break it, to put him into a stun state so I could go down, take off one of those, you know, crit spots again and start just doing some free damage. And within that period of time, it had me like Spider-Man whipping up on top of the ceiling so I didn't get like poisoned and killed on the floor. It was just so interesting. It was fun boss mechanics, and it was everything that I think that we've been wanting in a Borderlands endgame boss since literally forever. I mean, I'm literally thinking back to like raid bosses in Borderlands 2, and like, yeah, they had like specific attacks and mechanics and stuff like that, but it wasn't this deep. And the fact that it was this deep for just a vault boss, which isn't even the final end game of this game, has me so excited about the potential of what raid bosses and takedown bosses might be for that, you know, what I usually call like tier 3 or above endgame content. Now, once you beat the vault monster boss, you're essentially going to be teleported to this little area where you're going to have this little item for you to consume. Once you consume that, it's giving you essentially a perma upgrade to your character that is going to help out. This was actually a question I was asking some of the Gearbox devs. I was like, oh, is there going to be any way for us to like increase our glide or our sprint or anything like that through like, you know, augments on like our actual gear, like class mods or, you know, like the health pack and stuff like that? And they're like, be patient, you'll find that out here soon. And what do you know, I went and played this and was like, oh my gosh, once you beat a vault boss, you're going to get those upgrades. So there is a incentivization for, you know, pretty much everything in the game, just your quality of life to go fight these bosses and get those quality of life upgrades. For me, it was a glide pack upgrade. My glide regens faster, and immediately going back into the vault and fighting that guy again, I could notice that glide upgrade. Like I was literally just like floating in the air whenever I was gliding, and just having that faster regen was really nice just for that all-around movement tech that personally I'm a ginormous fan of. Also, when I went in, I was able to get 2 red chests. Now, again, the devs emphasize that the loot is going to be much harder to get like those legendaries and everything, so I wouldn't expect to go into this and like, you know, pull legendaries from the red chest immediately. Maybe once you hit like level 50 and we're in like true vault hunter mode or something like that. Again, I don't even know if we're having true vault hunter mode. I'm just gonna emphasize that real fast. That's just me talking out the ass. But if something like that, maybe there's a chance of that loot being better in it, but at least for and this point in time, it was pretty solid loot for me to do. Now, once I went back through the portal, it sent me right back to that spot right before I went into the arena, and I had that Moxie's Encore machine to take advantage of. Now, for me, it was only $50, I believe, to reset it. They said that they intentionally put that lower for our play session, essentially, so we could do that over and over again, so I wouldn't expect it to be that, but again, we do have confirmation that at least for these vault bosses, we will have Moxie's machine to constantly farm them with. Also, I got some Iridium and cash and everything as soon as I came out, plus some XP. So this is actually gonna be a pretty solid spot to, honestly, I think farm some of those end-game materials as well. Eventually, I just went back in and kept farming him until I was able to get one of his dedicated drops. It was the Husky Friend. Essentially, this was going to just be a TDR shotgun that whenever you throw it, it was going to create a small rocket turret that was just going to shoot along with you. It wasn't really that great for me at the time. Might have just been scaling and stuff like that. You know, obviously, I think someone will eventually be able to make it better. But me plus a few other people were able to get this to drop Funny enough, Moxie got a shield from him instead, so there might be multiple drops from these bosses. So can't confirm that. I can at least confirm that, you know, this Blast Husky friend dropped for a few of us, but, you know, there might be other multiple drops. As I was also going through this, I noticed that there was a watcher talking to me, Watcher G or whatever you want to call them. So obviously there's going to be some type of lore, Iridian, Guardian implementation in with this. I definitely recommend going checking out people like Eruption Fang for that. I know he was also at the event and he was looking for all those fun lore things, so I'm guessing that Watcher G was going to be someone he's going to have some opinions about. But there you have it. That is the vaults. I think this is going to be an amazing part to the game. I'm definitely somebody who, again, I think that every single game that is like this, that has this like end game grind for loot and stuff like that, needs to have like a tiered system. Have like a base tier of just like, you know, basic world bosses, stuff like that. A tier 2 that's a little bit more complicated, a little bit harder. So I would say like these vaults are going to be in there, and then like a tier 3 where it really like puts you to the test with like your builds and like playing with people like that, like raids and possibly takedowns as well. So as long as they're implementing that kind of structure for the end game, I think we are going to be swimming in content and swimming in fun once Borderlands 4 actually launches. Again, big thank you to 2K for flying me out to play this early. Again, it's a literal dream as somebody who's been playing Borderlands since the first game launched when I was a literal child. I'm like 30 now, and being able to just like go out to, you know, 2K headquarters and play was amazing. So again, big thanks to them for that. Make sure you're also checking out some of the other content creators that were at this event. K6, Jolt Stewed, Moxie, Rest Assured, Eruption Fang, Little Gas Mask. We all really had a fun time, and it was just an awesome time getting to meet those guys as well, who, you know, people that I constantly talk with on the internet, but, you know, don't get to meet in real life. Again, give a like on this video if you enjoy the content, and let me know your questions down below. I'm going to do my absolute best to answer as many people as humanly possible. All your questions and everything. Again, make sure you check out my other video just covering my honest review of Borderlands 4 that I got to play from the early game section. Subscribe, become a member, and follow me over on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch at Byrdman778. Guys, thank you so very much. I hope you have a great night, day, or whatever it may be.